The Epistles to the Galatians, Chapter 2, Part 1. In studying this chapter, to understand why Paul would refuse to circumcise Titus, but then had Timothy circumcised later, as recorded in Acts 16, 1-3, to appreciate why it was necessary for Paul to rebuke Peter to his face, and to understand why, if righteousness comes by the law, then Christ's death was in vain. As Paul continues defending his apostleship, he describes a meeting in Jerusalem 14 years after the one with Peter related in chapter 1. Galatians 2:1. Then after a period of 14 years, I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, taking Titus also with me. It was prompted by revelation, and Barnabas and Titus went with him to meet those who were of reputation. The meeting was private. Galatians 2:1. I went up by revelation, and I laid before them the gospel which I preach among the Gentiles, but privately before those who were respected, for fear that I might be running, or had run, in vain. But some false brethren were secretly brought in, who sought to demand that Titus, a Gentile, be circumcised. Galatians 2:3. But not even Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised. Paul refused, viewing it as an effort to bring them back into bondage, from which Christ set them free. Galatians 2:4-5. This was because of the false brothers secretly brought in, who stole in to spy out our liberty which we have in Christ Jesus, that they might bring us into bondage, to whom we gave no place in the way of subjection, not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you. The result of the meeting was that those who seemed to be something added nothing to Paul. Galatians 2:6. But from those who were reputed to be important, whatever they were, it makes no difference to me. God doesn't show partiality to man. They, I say, who were respected, imparted nothing to me. In fact, once they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcised had been given to him, just as the gospel of the circumcised had been given to Peter. Galatians 2:7-8. But to the contrary, when they saw that I had been entrusted with the gospel for the uncircumcision, even as Peter with the gospel for the circumcision, for he who appointed Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision appointed me also to the Gentiles. Once James, Cephas, and John perceived the grace that had been given to Paul, he was extended the right hand of fellowship. Galatians 2:9. And when they perceived the grace that was given to me, James and Cephas and John, they who were reputed to be pillars, gave to me and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship, that we should go to the Gentiles, and they to the circumcision. They only asked that Paul be mindful of the poor, something he was very eager to do. Galatians 2:10. They only asked us to remember the poor, which very thing I was also zealous to do. The Epistles to the Galatians, Chapter 2, Part 1, the end.